Good to be with you today. I was with our Diocese of Biloxi Priest Retreat. We were at Our Lady of Hope in Osaka, Mississippi, about 2 hours away from here. And we had a priest presenter from Canada originally who serves in the Oblate School of Theology in San Antonio, and just reflected on his priesthood, on some of the themes of Easter and what it means to be a priest of the ministerial priesthood, right? So you are members of the baptized priesthood. Everyone who is baptized is a priest in that sense. And then we believe as Catholics that Jesus instituted a different order of priests as well, the ministerial priesthood of bishops and priests. And so it was a good retreat, and I'll probably reflect on it a bit more in the Sunday homily. And so we continue with our Easter weekdays and read from Acts of the Apostles chapter 5. And I think I've said this before, but the readings of the Easter season are so rich. And I always feel like, the faucet is just, I can barely say anything really worthy of these readings. There's just so much that we can, look at or could, and how do you decide what's worth talking about? But one of the things here is Gamaliel is an important figure. He is described as being St. Paul's tutor. Right, so he trains Saul, later on Paul, in the ways of the Jewish law and practices. And so he has this very wise observation about the early Christian church. He says that this severe effort to stamp out Christianity is a bad move because it could be that there's more to it than it seems. That this Jesus is not just a revolutionary and really an inconvenient figure that disagrees with us, but that God could be involved. And I've always found it ironic too that, of course, it says that, and this is here in the Bible, in the New Testament. I think that what we have to go back to with this is to realize that the world doesn't really understand Christianity. And really, a lot of us Christians don't understand Christianity. We don't really understand it either much of the time. That to be a Catholic, right, and I say this to people, it's not just to be a kind of a good person with kind of good sense and prudence, and you know how to manage things, and you know how to live a thoughtful and a successful life. It's to be incorporated into God's life. It's to be incorporated into what Christ has done for us. And so a Christian is not called to be less than human. We are not called to be Philistine. Have you ever heard that term, Philistinism? A Philistinist person is someone who is against science, who is against knowledge, who is against those kind of things. They want to know less. We're called to be fully human. We're called to be effective managers of what God's given us, but we're called to be transformed too into the likeness of Christ. And Christ is not less than human. He's God and man. And so it's challenging, it's very challenging to do all of it. And I think that we know that God calls us to that. And of course we saw we see in these early Acts of the Apostles that Christ is the risen Christ is working very powerfully in this church. And again, the calling is to be both fully human and also to live up to our vocation that God has given us. And so now we look at our gospel today, and in this reading, of course, this is before the resurrection of Jesus, and there is this scene of feeding all these people, and the Eucharistic connotation is quite obvious particularly that you think of the psalm that the Lord is my shepherd, right? He makes them lie down in green pastures, as it were. And so there is this image of the gift of the Eucharist that is accomplished in satisfying the temporal needs of people. But look at the very beginning of the gospel. It says, "A large crowd followed him because they were concerned with being forgiven of their sins and reaching advanced holiness of life." Yeah, that's what I heard. Isn't that what you heard? That's absolutely what it says. Let's go look at that one more time. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs he was performing on the sick. In other words, because they wanted to be healed physically. So our thirst for being made new in the image of the risen Christ is kind of small compared to our desire for the things that are immediate needs and immediate concerns. And so they were pursuing him not for conversion and holiness. And we should go back and ask ourselves today, do I come to church because I have a social need that's met here somehow? Because I am anxious, because I am insecure, maybe even profoundly insecure? Am I here to be brought into the mystery of Jesus that calls me to surrender my life to the Lord and to allow him to work powerfully? And because I want to be Christ's hands and feet in the world today and to live out my vocation.